Hey everybody, welcome back to Down the Shore Homestead. In today's video, we're going to talk about how the seasons are changing, and even though it's going to be like 80 degrees today, in a couple days, we're going to have a frost. And as these season changes, there are some homesteading chores that we should do to prepare. And if you're in a warmer climate, you should also be doing some of these chores, because even though you may not experience harsh winters, you should still prepare for potential winter weather events and possible cold conditions, like what happened to Texas a few years ago. And also, each one of us should all be doing these chores periodically throughout the year to ensure that you have a safe and stable homestead or apartment. So in today's video, Rocco and I are going to take you around our homestead and show you the 10 chores that we do to prepare our homestead for winter. And stick around to the end, because there's 2 bonus items, and one of them you probably haven't even thought of. So as we say around here, right, Rocco? Let's go down the shore. So the number one chore that I do is a fall garden maintenance. Now, I have decided, based on my research, that I'm going to have one more crop before the hard frost sets in. So I am planting winter hardy beets, radishes, leaf lettuce, and some carrot. So if you plan on trying to get one more crop out of this season, check your zone and see what you could possibly plant before the hard frost sets in. And then if you decide that you're just going to winterize your garden beds, whether it is a raised garden bed like mine or in ground, you're going to need to cut off any plants that still remain and leave the roots in the ground. And that way you don't have to put down any organic material yet. You'll do that in the spring instead. But what I'm going to do is, after this fall crop is harvested, I'm going to put down a cover crop. So decide for yourself whether you want to leave the roots in the soil, put down some compost, but either way, you have to mulch your beds. Whether they're in ground or they're a raised bed, you should always mulch. What I'm going to do is put in a cover crop so that my soil and microorganisms have something to feed on all winter long. About a month before I start my spring season, I will terminate that cover crop and prepare my beds for the next crop. Now, if you're in a warmer climate, you don't need to winterize your crops. You're just going to need to cultivate your beds and prepare them for your next crop. So number 2 is animal preparation. And whether you're in cold or warm climates, it is always a good idea to periodically check and repair any fencing or enclosures to prevent the animals escaping and predators from coming in. So I periodically check this chicken run. It's the covered chicken run that we have for our chicks. So if we go away, we can close this door to the covered run, and they have an automatic coop door, so they can come out in the morning and in at night. And then the door closes to keep all predators out of the coop. But then in the morning, when that door opens, they can come out here into the covered area, and they can hang out here all day without me worrying about any predators getting in during the day if we happen to be on vacation. So that's why it is important to make sure that you periodically check, because you don't want anything to happen to any of your animals. You should also consider, as winter approaches, to give them extra nutrients to help them have the energy to keep them warm and healthy. Now, number 3 is firewood and heat source. You'll need to clean and maintain your wood stoves or furnaces. And that's why I'm standing here, because we have a gas boiler, because we have radiator heaters. And now would be a good time to do maintenance on this. And we have someone that comes out yearly to check before the winter season to make sure that our boiler doesn't have any potential issues for the season. Now, if you're in a warm area, you may have a freak cold storm. You need to make sure you have alternative heat if you don't have any heat at all. Make sure that the heat that you do have is ready to go. And if you have a fireplace, which I'm sure if you have a fireplace, you already know this, but for anybody who's new to this, right now would be a great time to start chopping and storing your wood in a dry area for the entire season, if you can. And if not, at least make sure you have enough to get through about a month. So now we're in my pantry. So number 4 is pantry and storage. And as you can see, our pantry is not very big. You should take stock of your pantry, make a list of things that you still need. Make sure your dates are first in, first out, which means the oldest dates are in the front and the newest dates are in the back. Then make a list of any items that you may need to grow next year to fill any holes that you have in your pantry. And if you can't grow those items, then make a list of the items that you need and look out for sales. For instance, near me, we have what's called a can sale at ShopRite. You can get all canned foods on sale. I think it's twice a year. So that's when it's a good time to stock up on all of your canned items. Number 5 is water and plumbing. So you need to make sure that you insulate any pipes that you have in your basement, remove any timers and hoses from your spigot, turn off your spigot and winterize your spigot if you need to. And that's a jet from our local Air Force. So anyways, if you have drip irrigation, make sure you flush out the lines. Remove any fittings from your drip irrigation because you don't want them to crack. And if you're in a warmer climate, just give your plumbing a once over to make sure that you don't see any issues, because at least you'll know you have any issues before you have a major problem. And you can also decide whether you need to do any expansions with your hoses. So we realized that we need to expand our hoses to the back part of our property so that we can grow some more grass. So that's just one of the instances of preparing for next season. Number 6 is roof and gutters. So I'm standing here next to my rain barrels because what I'm going to need to do is disconnect them from the downspout and clean them out and then store them upside down, probably in our shed, just to keep them out of the elements, because we don't want water pooling at the bottom, which can cause algae. And even though I have little copper pipes inside those barrels to keep the algae down, it's just a good idea to clean them out and keep them stored in the winter. Now, if you're in a warm area, I would just periodically clean out your rain barrels. And as a little tip, add a little piece of copper pipe because that helps keep down the algae. You also need to inspect and clear out any of the gutters that you have, replace anything that needs to be replaced. And on your roof, make sure that your roof is intact. And as you can see here, we have an extension to our downspout because we had a problem with all of the water going into the corner there and then into our basement and flooding our basement. So we've extended out the pipe to make the water come out farther. So periodically check that to make sure that you don't have drainage issues around your house. Okay, number 7 is winterization of outdoor equipment. And that's why we're sitting in my shed right now with my tractor and our hand mower and our motorcycle. And the reason for that is because tank for the motorcycle has a completely full tank to stop any condensation from building up in the motorcycle. And we also have what's called a battery tender that we plug into the battery of the motorcycle to prevent the battery from going bad. And then for the hand mower and for the tractor, what we will do is, again, fill them all the way up, put in fuel stabilizer. We won't put fuel stabilizer in the motorcycle, but we will put it into the hand mower and the tractor, just so that we know that the gas isn't going to go bad over the winter. Now, that could be a sticking point for some people. I heard other people say that they drain their gas tanks. However, that's just what we do. If we're wrong, put it in the comments below. Tell me why I'm wrong and tell me what I should be doing instead. And if you don't have a shed like this, then figure out a way to cover them up to keep them out of the elements. And now is also a good time to start bringing in all of your outside decorations or any plants that have to be brought in for the winter. For instance, I brought in our lemon tree because it can't handle the frost. And all of these cushions will be washed and put away for the winter. And any speakers or anything like that solar speaker back there, we'll bring that in for the winter. And if you can't bring these items in, then try and find a way to cover them with a tarp to keep them safe from the elements. And if you have an apartment, think about your patio if you have one, or think about your outdoor area. Do you have anything out there that needs to be brought in or stored? And number 8 is snow removal and ice management. Now, I'm not going to take you back down into our basement because it's a humongous mess right now. However, you need to make sure that you have your rakes and shovels ready to go in an easy area that you can get to them. Make sure you have your ice melt. And if you don't have any, go purchase it now. Don't be those people that wait until there's a storm coming and then rush down to the store to try and buy some and find out that everybody else did the same thing and they're out of it. So get them now so that you're ready. And again, even if you're in a warm environment, please go buy some now, because look what happened to Texas a few years ago. Again, they were not prepared. So make sure you're prepared for anything. Look at the weather we've been having lately. It has been extreme, unprecedented, and you just want to make sure that you're ready no matter what. And number 9 is emergency preparedness. And we're back in my pantry because here is my gravity water filter that I created that I need to redo because I didn't have the correct tool when I drilled the hole. So it doesn't work that great. So I'll be creating a new video on that very shortly. But basically, if you don't have an emergency plan, you need to create one because look at what's just happened in North Carolina and Florida. You need to be prepared. And I'm not talking doomsday prepper. I'm talking just simple preparedness for 3 days, 2 weeks, or 3 months. Everyone should have 3 days right now. Then you need to try and get to 2 weeks. And then your ultimate plan would be to get to 3 months. Now, if you can go beyond that, that's great. But in the very least, have 3 days of supplies. And you need to go on FEMA.gov and find out exactly what you should have for those 3 days, 2 weeks, or 3 months. Now, if you have a plan, awesome. And what you need to do is go over that plan and make sure that you're not missing anything. And if you are, write down what you're missing and go out and get what you're missing. Then look for sales because right now there's a lot of sales happening because these stores are hurting and they need to make money to get out of the red into the black zone by the end of the year. And think about having an off-site place to keep some items. For instance, those people in North Carolina lost everything. Their entire home went down the mountain. So think about that. Are there any precious memories that you just do not want to lose? Are there pictures? I know a lot of people have them on their phone now, but do you have them backed up to the cloud? Do you have old pictures of family members that are in photo albums up in your attic or in your basement that you want to keep that you don't even have pictures of those pictures of? Which is a great idea, by the way. Take pictures of those pictures and upload them to the cloud. However, think about having an off-site place for those very important items. And make sure you have your important documents like your marriage licenses, your deed, your insurance policies, all of that in some kind of a bag so that you can take that with you if you need to evacuate. And really, that stuff should be in an external location from your site because those people, again, lost everything. So trying to replace insurance policies and trying to find out what your insurance policy was, that's a nightmare that you don't want to have to deal with during a disaster situation. So keep that in mind and think about just having a few pieces of clothing, some water, some food, because even if you can't get to it in your disaster area at the time, you can get to it eventually. And then at least you'll have those pictures and those mementos and some clothing and some items and some documents that you're going to need to help get you past that disaster that you were just in. And it'll help you mentally not have to deal with those items because you just went through major stress. It'll be a heck of a lot easier if you have those items off site. Now, number 10 is a final check. Conduct a thorough walkthrough of your entire property and look for any items that need to be fixed or repaired or replaced. For instance, I would take you out there right now and show you that we still have to replace 2 sections of fence and finish our back fence. Unfortunately, my neighbor's out there using his blower, so it's too loud out there right now. But there's a couple things that we have to do in our backyard still that are on my list. And there's even some things inside this house that I would like to get done throughout the winter. So make that list and check it off throughout the season and say, hey, look what I got accomplished during this winter season. And it helps keep you going when it's dreary and gray out and you can't really go out and do anything fun. At least you can say, hey, look at all the items I got done to make my house a little bit more stable. Now, my bonus number 1 is preparing your vehicles. And this can go for everybody, whether you're in a warm environment or not. I know you don't need snow tires and chains on your tires down in Texas, but you should still periodically check your vehicles and make sure that there are no potential issues that may happen in the future. And I know you go and get your oil changes done or you do them yourself and you do those checks then, but think about when the seasons change, you check your smoke detectors. Hey, bud. Rocco's over here saying, hey, Mom, could you hurry up on the video, please? So anyways, when you're changing your smoke detector batteries, also make checking your vehicles part of those seasonal chores. You're going to check for fluids. You're going to check for tire pressure. Make sure you have an emergency kit in your vehicle somewhere with blankets, hats, gloves, water, and some snacks. because you never know what's going to happen when you're on the road. And my second bonus that you probably haven't even thought of is make a list of events that you want to do this season with your family and friends, and write down items that you may need to have those events. For instance, my husband and I just had a backyard movie night for Halloween, and we played a classic scary movie in our backyard, created a new memory with our family and some friends. So, did we have to go out and purchase anything for that? Yeah, we had to get a couple things. But I bought those items like a month before we were even going to have this event. If you want to go sledding with your kids or your grandkids this season, make sure you have them and have them ready to go, because it could be a spur of the moment thing. Maybe you don't usually get snow in your area, but you had a freak snowstorm and now you can go sledding, but we don't have any sleds. Well, if you go buy some now, and even if it doesn't snow for 5 years, but then 1 year you have a freak snowstorm, you at least have the sleds available for that unusual snow event, and you can go have some fun, because you know when there's a snow event, everybody goes out and purchases all of the sleds, and if you don't get there early enough, you won't get one. So think about that. You want to go apple picking? You want to go ice skating? Do you have ice skates? Is there a way for you to rent skates? Just keep that in mind when you're writing down all of the events that you want to do, and come up with any items that you may need and purchase them now. And maybe you have a spur of the moment event that you want to go do and you don't have all of the items you need to go do it. So you have to go purchase those items. It's just nice to know that if you have a list of things that you potentially want to do, that you have all of those items before you want to go do it. So hopefully you've gotten something out of this video and you're going to like it and share it out to other people so that this will get pushed out for other people to see. And Rocco's back there looking for a mouse that's underneath the shed. And hopefully you'll see that we're not like all of the other homesteading channels that have perfect homesteads that are manicured beautifully and have been doing it for years. We've only been doing this for a year, and I've learned a lot from the first garden that I did, and hopefully next season's garden harvest will be better. And hopefully you can see that we're just the people next door, just like you, and hopefully we can all learn some things together to make this crazy life that we're living in a little bit better. So if you have any ideas of things that I forgot, put them in the comments below. Hopefully you'll subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you get all future videos. So we're trying to be a little bit more self-sufficient, but we're also trying to build a community so that when bad things happen, you have support in your area. Look at North Carolina. They couldn't depend on the government, but everybody around them stepped up and helped out and tried to save as many people as they could. And that's what I'm looking for on this channel. I'm looking to build a community of people who want to help and support each other and make our little neighborhoods a little bit healthier and happier. So Rocco and I appreciate you all coming around, and we hope to see you next time. Say bye, everybody.